Sir Roger Moore is the absolute definition of a British national treasure.
Keeping the British end up, sir.
He has had an extraordinary career in movies and television, and of course, he was Bond. I don't think Sir Roger's ever done a major television interview about his life.
This is a first. When you get to my age, a first is quite something.
I suspect he's a bit apprehensive about this, mainly because, let's be honest, he's been a bit of a naughty boy.
Quite revealing.
I'm just curious to know how much he else knows about my life.
Sir Roger's been through 4 marriages, several of those breakups very dramatic. He's survived cancer. He's led life on and off screen at the same relentless, glamorous pace. And I want to get all the juicy details out of him.
I think that Piers is a very good interviewer. Don't make me tell the truth.
Sir Roger, it's a great pleasure to have you here and a great honour for me, but before we go any further, I've always wanted to do this. My name is Morgan, Piers Morgan.
That's very good.
How many times have you heard that terrible joke in your life?
It's not a terrible joke, but I did have one man say to me, my name is Bond, James Bond, and he really was James Bond.
You played James Bond in 7 of the Bond movies, and apparently you've been watched as Bond by over 1 billion people. That is more than the entire population of Europe and the United States of America. Do you ever stop and think about that?
No, but I hope they all paid.
It's the 50th anniversary, incredibly, of James Bond, and 40 years since you first stepped into that role. When if you don't mind me asking, I think it will amaze the audience. How old are you now, Sir Roger?
I'm 84. I'm going to be 85 in a few weeks' time.
Well, happy birthday for them, sir.
Thank you.
When you're James Bond on screen for 14 years, is it hard to live up to him off screen? You seem to have had a damn good go at it, but is it hard?
I remember Jeffrey, my son, elder son, when he was 8, and at that age when kids all think that their father's the strongest, biggest man in the world, and we were having lunch in the White Elephant, and he said to me, "Could you beat anybody up in here?" And I looked around, they seemed fairly ancient. So I truthfully said, yes, I suppose I could. He said, but what about if James Bond came in? I said, but I'm going to be James Bond. He said, I mean the real one, Sean Connery.
You had a problem which I've never suffered from. You once said, I was so pretty that actresses didn't want to work with me. Not an affliction that's ever come my way, Sir Roger, but...
Oh, I don't know, Piers. You're quite pretty.
I like this one. I like this. The audience aren't agreeing with you, but keep going.
Isn't he pretty?
But have you always had this problem? Women just falling instantly for you?
No, a lot of fellas.
No, we've got a little montage of pictures we wanted to show you, which kind of, I think, sum up the famous Roger Moore sex appeal. So let's have a look at some of these images.
Oh.
I mean, you are, if I may say so, ruggedly handsome jungle man there, Sir Roger.
I was playing Romulus, the twin son of the Wolf Lady and the founder of Rome, and the lady is Sheila Gabelle.
And did you ever...
No, I didn't.
This is you as Bond, with a few of your Bond girls. Grueling photo session on that one?
Hell. Absolute hell, but somebody has to do it.
I mean, when you wake up in the morning and someone says to you, OK, Roger, here's how today's going to work. Here's your schedule. You arrive at this lovely garden and there's going to be a dozen beautiful women taking their clothes off and sprawling themselves all over you. What's your immediate reaction?
Can I hold my stomach in long enough?
The next one. Now, this is interesting because, unbelievably, you're 57 years old in that picture. I mean, you have weathered well, sir.
Yeah, I had nice breasts.
Have you always been happy with your looks? Did you used to wake up in the morning, look in the mirror and go, Rog, you're looking good, baby?
When I'd finished kissing my reflection.
Are you a vain man?
No. I wish that I could sort of look like Charles Lawton
Really?
and get those parts. You know, nobody really takes you seriously. They don't take a pretty girl seriously, and they certainly don't take a pretty boy seriously. They presume you can't act.
So it has been.
They're right.
Let's take a look at how you've become a living legend. With a glittering career lasting over 60 years, Roger Moore is simply one of the world's biggest screen legends.
He's really famous, Roger Moore. Everybody knows who Roger Moore is.
You want an autograph?
He's a huge movie star. I think he's iconic.
He's one of the all-time greats.
Must you shout? Can't you speak in a civilized tone?
He was good looking, he was charming.
Smooth, suave, stunningly gorgeous.
All the ladies went bananas.
I don't think I've ever seen a more beautiful man than Sir Roger.
And he didn't just look good.
Hold it.
He was a matinee idol who could mix it up with the tough guys.
He was a very physical man. He was very, very fit. That's what the art of being a movie star is. Guys want to be you and women love you.
You're not just teasing me, are you?
And no character was more loved than his defining role, the smoothest action hero of them all.
My name's Bond. James Bond.
And this Bond came with a defining quality that was pure Roger Moore.
Let's try reverse. That's backwards.
The one thing that Roger had that the other characters didn't have as well was his great humor.
Bond, what do you think you're doing?
Keeping the British end up, sir.
Very dry and very right.
He played Bond as a, slightly tongue-in-cheek character.
He never took himself or it seriously.
And who can forget that Roger Moore trademark expression?
I'm in no hurry. Are you?
Eyebrows up, eyebrows down, or one up and one down.
Useless.
And Roger gave Bond his own style of naughty humour.
Sheer magnetism, then.
Loved the whole watch sequence, and he very much, may I add, he also thoroughly enjoyed being in bed with me.
Quite revealing.
You couldn't ever find offence from it. It's just hilarious.
His wife Louisa was at the bottom of the bed watching and making sure we didn't get up to anything. Now, if Louisa hadn't been there at the foot of the bed, who knows?
You're not trying to take advantage of me, are you?
Thought never crossed my mind.
He may have been a charmer in bed, but when it came to the rough stuff, Roger's 007 dispatched villains with his own ruthless style.
I suggested he should grab a lamp and stick it in Jaws' teeth. Anything that he thinks works, he'll put it in.
He was all for it, and he contributed to my scene stealing and fun.
Off-screen, Roger had no license to kill, but that didn't stop him enjoying his own 007 lifestyle.
He really led a Bond life without the danger. Fast cars, fast speedboats and all this sort of thing. Sunshine, French Riviera.
Imagine he stays in the best hotels and he wears the best shirts.
I mean, this is the jet-setting lifestyle, which James Bond enjoyed, but Roger Moore really invented.
And having James Bond as their dad meant his children were surrounded by the rich and famous.
To have his celeb friends come round on Sunday lunch.
From Frank Sinatra to Gregory Peck, David Niven, Elizabeth Taylor. It was very normal. To the outsiders, they must have thought, wow, what a great movie star lifestyle.
Certainly having a father who was an action hero, and at that time really one of the only action heroes really on the screen, it was pretty cool.
I never sort of thought I got a movie star dad. I just thought I was lucky that I had two dads, one that was on the television and one that used to come home.
That magnetic watch, have you ever used one of those in real life?
They don't work. Madeline Smith, I see her sitting there, and she remembers the prop man up her skirt pulling a wire down the inside. He had a better job than I did.
Are you a daredevil, like James Bond?
I take calculated risks.
I'm told you're scared of heights.
I don't like them.
You don't like guns.
No.
You hate explosions.
Exactly.
These aren't the great assets for Bond.
No, but it shows you what a hell of a good actor I am.
Now, in Ian Fleming's books, James Bond's favourite dish was beluga caviar with chilled vodka. I'm told you're also partial to pork pies with tomato ketchup.
Pork pie, yes.
Any particular type of pork pie?
Saxby's, I think they were.
What was the single best thing about playing James Bond for you?
I don't think there was one single best thing. I think it was all of it put together, that it was this happy group, happy bunch of thespians, vagabonds.
You slept with 18 Bond girls during the making of the Bond movies.
Don't tell the wife.
How many of the 18 did you have any kind of fling with off screen?
Fling with?
Yeah.
None.
None?
None.
So, Roger, it's just me and you here.
Yeah. Just you.
None of them?
No. Not with the leading ladies.
Now, your assistant Gareth told us that you once received a letter from a woman saying she was your illegitimate daughter and claimed that you'd slept with her mother when she worked at Pinewood. Do you remember how you responded?
After I called my lawyer?
Yes.
No, I don't remember how I responded.
Well, according to Gareth, you told him to write back and say, you can't get pregnant from a blowjob.
Thank you, Gareth.
Is it all flooding back to you now, Sir Roger?
I think you could rephrase that, too.
What were you doing in the doorway?
What was I doing? I was trying to get my leg across. What do you think?
Let's go back to when it all started for you, Sir Roger. You were born Roger George Moore in 1927 in Stockwell, South London. Your father, George, was a policeman. Your mum, Lily, worked as a cashier. Did you have a happy childhood?
A wonderfully happy childhood. I was an only child. I didn't have to share anything with anybody.
So a complete spoilt brat, obviously.
Complete spoilt little brat.
You had a very bad attack of double pneumonia, and your parents were actually warned that they could lose you.
Yes. I was too sick to be moved to the hospital, and one day, so my father told me, the doctor had said, I shall be around in the morning, but prepare your wife. I'm coming to sign the death certificate. And so I can imagine what sort of night my parents went.
How old were you then?
4.5, 5.
Wow.
And I'd been going to Sunday school for about a year. And the fever broke in the night. And my parents suddenly heard this feeble little voice from the next room saying, Jesus wants me for a Sunday.
And they knew you were going to make it.
Yeah.
Oh, amazing story. Yeah. What are your memories of that time, growing up in South London?
Oh, good. Of course, war started, and on the 1st of September 1939, we were all sort of given a little cardboard label and our gas mask, and got on a train and sent to the closest part in England to Germany, Worthing on the southern coast, south coast. And I still don't understand how parents can sort of take their child to a railway station and put them, not knowing when they're going to see them again.
Do you think they were extremely proud of you?
Yes. Yeah.
Did they see most of your Bond career, the highlights?
My mother saw the beginning of Bond, and my father, of course, was there at the end.
Roger, let's go back right to where it all started.
Mm-hmm.
Roger's posh accent gives little clue to his humble beginnings in South London.
He's the son of a blooming Brixton policeman, but he's all posh. He dropped his Cockney accent long ago.
Encouraged by his supportive parents, Roger won a place at the prestigious Royal Academy of Dramatic Art.
He went to RADA and he learned how to talk proper, like what I never done.
He was in a class of 3 boys to 12 girls, so he learned a lot more about sex than he did about drama.
I was aware that he was a very handsome fellow and people liked him. He's just one of the guys, that's all, really and truly, and a good bloke to know.
For Roger, RADA was a passport to low-paid acting roles on the West End stage.
He went up to London every day looking for work. And there were certain places like the Arts Theatre. He was in demand.
He supplemented his income by modelling work, particularly knitwear modelling. So you'd see him in knitwear catalogues, holding a pipe.
He was always known in the modelling times as the Big Knit, because he always did pullovers.
And the Big Knit thought his big break had arrived when he was offered a Hollywood contract.
Roger was being groomed to be a star, but the films he was starring in weren't doing big business.
So after 3 big box office flops, MGM decided to cut their losses and let Roger go.
They were doing all these westerns, you see, that's why. Nothing but westerns. That's not very good for English actors, is it, really?
To suddenly be told 3 years into it, cheerio, goodbye, you think, my God, am I a failure? What do I do now? What have I done wrong?
But Roger refused to be put off, turning to the small screen, first as a swashbuckling hero in Ivanhoe, before he got the part that made him a household name in The Saint.
The name is Templar. Simon Templar.
The Saint was huge for Roger. In fact, through The Saint, he became the UK's first television millionaire.
Terence Stamp and I were walking along the street and we saw Roger Moore. We went, it's The Saint. There he is, look.
Roger next played an even smoother character, Lord Brett Sinclair in The Persuaders, which he co-starred in with Tony Curtis.
I'll tell you something, your lordship, you got style.
Huh. You're not too bad yourself.
In 1971, Roger was back making movies. He distanced himself from the lighter roles that had made him famous by taking on a challenging part in a dark psychological thriller, The Man Who Haunted Himself.
He has to play these 2 characters, one good, one bad. And it is a brilliant performance.
I'm going to the police. Fire! Fire!
It was hard-hitting stuff, it was edge-of-seat stuff. And you sit back having watched that film and say, hang on a minute, this is a man who knows how to play to camera, this is a man who can act.
Sadly, it was released and then it didn't sort of get the full exposure that it was supposed to have.
But his next role was to launch him into movie superstardom.
My name's Bond. James Bond.
I think he was the most suave, the most debonair, the most humorous and entertaining Bond.
But not all critics agree, with some calling him one-dimensional.
He plays himself, doesn't he, really and truly? I mean, you never see him playing with a Cockney accent, for example, do you?
If you make it look easy, which is very, very difficult, people think you're playing yourself. And that's what they thought about him. And it wasn't true, of course. He's not like that at all.
If Roger was hurt by the lack of critical acclaim, then he hid it well.
He covers how much he cares about all that by keeping it light-hearted.
He made jokes about himself not being a very good actor, so it's his own fault. He shouldn't have done it.
Roger's self-deprecating about his acting because he's deeply insecure. Deeply insecure.
I imagine it might have been hard for Roger not to be offered all those more dramatic roles, because I really believe that he had a good talent as an actor, maybe even a great talent.
And I think that must rub him internally, thinking, well, Michael Caine's doing this type of role and this type of role, getting Academy Award nominations, getting Academy Awards, and I'm not getting any of it. Well, it doesn't mean he wasn't very good.
You can always rely on Michael Winner to call a spade a spade. I mean, did he hit the nail on the head there? And him and Michael Caine, that perhaps he shouldn't have been so openly self-deprecating. It allowed the critics to jump onto it.
The eyebrow has sort of stuck with me. And it was my own fault because I said, you know, I have 3 expressions, eyebrow, left eyebrow, right eyebrow, and none moving at all. And it caught on.
Would you rather have been known as a great actor?
Yes.
Or a great heartthrob?
Great actor.
Would you like to have won an Oscar?
Well, of course. Who wouldn't like to win? But along the way, I won Christina.
And is that more important to you?
Much more important.
Michael Winner said that you suffer from insecurity. How insecure have you been in your career?
Perpetually.
Really?
Yeah. After every reading of a line, you say, I could have done that better.
Your big break was getting the part of the Saint in 1961. Did you ever think it was going to be as huge as it became, the Saint?
No. I really thought that there would be 39 episodes and that would be it. It wasn't until it had been on for 20 or so that we became aware that it was going to
It ran for 7 years, 118 episodes.
Mm-hmm.
And it was such a huge hit all around the world. You became, as I said, the first real TV millionaire because of it. Huge, huge triumph.
It was nice.
The lifestyle, it sounded fantastically glamorous. You know, you'd have Sinatra, David Niven, Gregory Peck all coming around for Sunday lunch. And yet for you, it was your normal life. Did you pinch yourself?
They were friends. I don't know why they were friendly with me, but I looked upon them as my friends.
I was told you were very close to Sinatra.
There were a lot of people, you know, that are no longer with us, that I miss every day. I could never watch a David Niven movie after he died.
Really?
I feel also the same about Greg Peck. But Frank I can listen to morning, noon and night.
You are 84. A lot of your friends, sadly, have died. Is that the toughest part of getting old, do you think?
Yeah, I think it is. You starts getting lonely. You wonder who's going to switch the light off.
Didn't she also bite you on the hand?
No, she would scratch me. My mother was always petrified that I'd have more scars.
Now, I want to turn now, Roger, to what I think most of the audience has come here to listen to. Just never mind all this acting stuff. You've been one of the great ladies' men in Hollywood history. How do you plead to that charge?
Not guilty.
You've been married 4 times.
Yes. I suppose after 4 marriages, I should be a great expert on marriage, but I'm not.
I was told when you were 15 you went out with this quite a lot older woman, and when she found out how young you were, she dumped you.
That was one of those casual meetings in the Locarno dance hall. I remember she had beautiful white teeth and lovely blonde hair, and we sort of ended up in a doorway in Streatham Hill.
What were you doing in the doorway?
What was I doing? I was trying to get my leg across. What do you think? And all of a sudden, there's a light on us, and hello, 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 and there's a policeman. And those days, you had to have your identity card, and if you were of call-up age, you had a different card. I had a not 18 card, and she said, I don't do it with kids. And left me.
Was that your first broken heart, Roger?
Well, it wasn't that broken. I mean, I'd only met her that night.
Well, you met your first wife, an ice skater called Dawn Van Steen, in 1945. So when the war ended, and you got married the following year. You were just 19 years old.
Yeah.
She didn't seem to be massively optimistic about your movie star chances. She once said to you, your face is too weak, your jaw's too big, and your mouth's too small.
Yeah.
Not the most flattering portrayal of a man who was her young husband?
It wasn't. And the marriage was doomed. It was doomed.
Well, is it true that on one occasion it was so doomed she emptied a pot of tea over your head?
No, she didn't. She threw a pot of tea at me. I'd been sunbathing in the garden. I came up and I was... I'd taken off my pants, and I don't know, I gave her some smart aleck answer. And this teapot came hurtling across. Oh, and I got hot tea leaves there. And I said, right, that's it. That's the end. I'm leaving. And she storms off out of the room. We lived in one room. And I hear the bath running. And I thought, God, what a cow. I'm leaving her, and she's having a bath. So I smashed the bathroom door open, and she got all my suits. She got 1.5 my clothes, all my clothes in the bath. She's now leave me.
And what did you do?
Waited for the clothes to dry.
Didn't she also bite you on the hand?
No, she would scratch me. My mother was always petrified when I went home to see her that I'd have more scars.
That's terrible.
Well, she was slightly mad, eccentric.
You then remarried Dorothy Squires, which some would say was out of the frying pan into the fire. She was a very lively lady. 13 years older than you?
Yes.
She was a huge star. Huge,
she was an
well-singing
enormous
star.
And I learned a great deal from her.
How would you describe that marriage to start with?
It was, again, you see, I don't argue. Or I try not to argue. So I avoid confrontation.
And was there a lot of confrontation?
I used to strum the guitar. And I was sitting on the end of a table in the kitchen, strumming on my guitar. And she was ranting on about something. And I'm not taking any notice, I'm just playing it. And the next thing I know, and it was like slow motion, I could feel the guitar coming out of my hands and could see it up above my head and crash down and all the strings down over my nose.
Really?
Yeah.
She smashed you over the head with your guitar?
Yes. Ruined the guitar.
Has there been any relationship with the woman you've had where they haven't ended up beating you to a pulp, Roger?
Well, I've deserved it, I guess.
In 1961, you fell in love with the Italian leading lady on one of your films, Luisa Mattioli. She couldn't speak any English, you couldn't speak any Italian. Did you finally found the woman that understood you?
I think that was the secret. We didn't understand one another.
When you're falling in love with someone who's not your wife on a set, did you feel guilty, or in your head did you think the marriage was over?
In my head, yes.
Was that a selfish thought process, do you think?
Very selfish. I didn't say I was a nice person.
How did Dorothy react to the news that you were having an affair?
She was not happy.
To put it mildly.
Put it very mildly.
She visited your home where you and Luisa were together, and she threw a brick at the window saying, "I'm going to kill an Italian."
Or words to that effect. And she reached through the glass and grabbed my shirt.
My God, really?
And she cut her arm as doing it. And I sort of got her arms off me. And the police came and they said, "Madam, you're bleeding." And she was Welsh. She said, "It's my heart that's bleeding."
Which it was, probably.
It was.
Did you feel guilty about Dorothy?
Yes, of course.
In later life, when she was dying of cancer in the late 90s, you contacted her, having heard about this, and you paid for all her treatment. She, by then, was penniless. What made you do that?
Well, I mean, she had been part of my life. And she was absolutely wonderful when she said to me, talking about Christina, and she said, "You found the right one, haven't you?" which was sort of like blessing.
Roger, by the mid-80s, you were one of the best-known actors in movie history. After finishing the film A View to a Kill in 1985, Roger had played Bond a record 7 times. Although still looking good at 57, he was getting, well, a bit long in the tooth.
Bond was supposed to be about 40. So he was very lucky to get it for as long as he did.
I think Dad, he got to the point where he that was it, and he'd had enough, and he had to hang up his Walter PPK.
Well, at least Roger could now enjoy a more relaxed life, which he spent with his Italian wife Louisa and their children in their homes in Switzerland and the French Riviera.
Roger does enjoy the good life. He loves boating, he loves sailing, he loves hanging out with his friends, he loves good food.
Everything should have been perfect, but then a routine medical check revealed bad news. Roger had cancer of the prostate.
He was obviously very, very nervous and upset and worried about what would happen. And he was literally told, you have to have an operation, not tomorrow, but today.
And you know, for a guy, when you're talking about that area, it's a very humiliating illness to have, on top of it being scary that, you know, you could die from this.
Yeah, I was concerned. It was a worrying time.
We all had to just be calm for him, because there was no point us getting all worked up. He was already in such a state about it all.
Mercifully, the cancer hadn't spread, but the long weeks of recuperation were taking their toll.
He wasn't able to do anything for himself. He couldn't go to the bathroom, he couldn't shower, he couldn't stand up for long because he had all this medical equipment hooked up to him.
During that period, he was somewhat withdrawn. He wasn't really communicating that much with me.
His temper was often very short. He became quite selfish for a period. Maybe even, I don't know, to the detriment of his then marriage.
My mother's a wonderful person, but, you know, she had a bit of a temper, and that Italian way of doing things compared to my father's placid, anything for a quiet life sort of way of being. He got better and he thought, right, I've been given another chance and I now want to live my life and live it the way I want to live it.
He just said, to hell with this, I'm out of here.
Roger left Louisa to find new love with Christina, who's now his 4th wife.
You know, you really see what life's about when you're faced with death.
Christina really did give him a new lease of life. I think if my father had continued in the way he was, being not very happy, I don't think Dad would be with us today.
How do you feel hearing your children speak like that about you?
They're good children.
They are good children, because they've been, you could say they've been pretty forgiving.
Yeah.
Is that how you feel?
They have been very forgiving, but fortunately with Christina, she is very easy, the wonderful person to be with. And I think that's what we have is, I am at peace. We don't argue. I think I raised my voice once, and that was only because I burnt my fingers.
Let's go back to the moment that you were told you had cancer. For any man at the age you were, that kind of cancer, incredibly worrying moment. How did you react to that?
I know at that point that I just couldn't go on with the life I had if I should sort of survive the whole damn thing. I think the hardest thing was that I was not happy at home. I was thinking all the time about Christina and how different life would be with her.
Because the complication for you was that Christina and Louisa were good friends. And you'd been married a long time to Louisa, you'd had these 3 lovely children, but this friendship had already begun between you and Christina, but it was a forbidden friendship in many ways.
Yeah, it was a friendship.
But as your son Jeffrey said in that VT, you really see what life's about when you're faced with death. Was it coming face to face with your own mortality that made you think, I have to leave this marriage, even though it's your third marriage.
Yeah, I think I said, it doesn't matter how long I've got, I'm going to do what I want and not give in to everybody else.
But let's talk about Christina, because clearly from everything you're telling me, she is the one. She was the one perhaps you were always looking for.
Absolutely, we have. It's a wonderfully tranquil relationship.
She's been watching the whole interview, listening to everything you've been saying. When you look at her...
I'm going to have to pay for some of that.
Of course. And you'll deserve it. When you look at her, what do you feel?
I love her.
What have you learned about yourself even tonight?
That I've been pretty selfish.
When you saw the Olympic opening ceremony and you had Her Majesty the Queen, who knighted you, of course, and there she is saying, "Hello, Mr. Bond," to Daniel Craig. Did you have a wry smile at that?
Absolutely brilliant, and what a wonderful thing for Bond on the eve of Skyfall opening and the 50th year. Great compliment to Bond. Of course, I do think that she should have done the jump.
Who would win if you all got into a brawl of all the Bonds? Who'd win?
All of them.
Who was the hardest?
Well, I think Daniel Craig is the hardest,
You reckon he'd
and
take
Sean.
You reckon he'd take Sean Connery? Sean Connery's bigger than Daniel Craig, isn't he? My guess would be Sean Connery would win the fight, but you'd get all the women.
No, I think Daniel Craig would. You see, Sean didn't come out of the sea in a bikini like Ursula Andress. And nobody's done it rather like Daniel Craig coming out.
So you're
of the
quite
water.
a fan of Daniel Craig, then?
I am. I think he's very good.
Do you think, and is he to you what Bond is really about?
He's what Bond is in the 2012s.
Roger, you've been living a jet-set lifestyle now for more than half a century. Roger is now 84 and splits his time between homes in Monaco, Switzerland and the French Riviera. He tries to keep a low profile, but when you're a former James Bond, well, that's easier said than done.
I remember walking along the street with him in Cannes, surrounded by photographers. And he said, "Oh, aren't they a nuisance?" I said, "Roger, if you didn't wear a white suit, it might be a little bit easier."
He's got 5 grandchildren. He's very busy with Christmas presents and birthdays.
With the kids, he's never serious. He always brings a smile to their face by joking with them.
Roger also finds time to keep up his acting. In his most recent film, A Princess for Christmas, he played a curmudgeonly old aristocrat.
I don't like them. They're messy, dirty things that drip sticky sap all over the mahogany.
And as usual, those eyebrows took centre stage.
Roger would love to do another movie, I'm sure, and have a great part, because we all would.
And after acting in 54 films over half a century, Roger was officially recognised in 2007 with his own star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame.
April the 1st, 1954 to be exact, I walked onto a soundstage at MGM and I kissed Elizabeth Taylor.
But for nearly 20 years, his priority has not been making movies, but saving children's lives. His work as a UNICEF ambassador has taken him around the world to the front lines of the fight against child poverty, deprivation and illness.
Roger said, "Look, if I'm going to speak about these things, I need to be there. I need to visit the field. I need to go out and see what's happening."
He's been in very difficult places, and as a, I'm sure Roger will forgive me, as an elderly man, it's not easy to go out to some of these places.
He's not doing it to get fame. He's not doing it for credibility. His role in UNICEF as an ambassador really was saying thank you back for everything that was given to him.
Roger's work was recognised by the Queen when he received his knighthood in 2003.
Well, she sort of congratulated me on the work I did for UNICEF and also 007.
Let's face it, there's nobody else like him. He's irreplaceable.
He is absolutely lovely. In every sense. A beautiful man and a beautiful personality.
I'm very proud that he's my friend, and I look up to him, and I say, keep going, Roger. You're fantastic. Keep it up.
Dad is a national treasure. He's the best of British, isn't he? He's lovable. That's and he's my dad.
So you're not such a bad guy.
Thank you. You're quite nice as well.
Found it very moving. You keep telling me what a bad guy you are, but bad guys don't have children who talk about them in the loving way that they talked about you. You might be someone who's not been a great husband, but you've clearly been a good father.
It goes to show you can fool most of the people.
See, there you go again, though. It's like saying you're a terrible actor. If I give you the chance to
redeem myself?
No, it's the other way. If I give you the chance, if I give you any opening to attack yourself, you take it.
Why not?
Because I was paying you a compliment. You should be allowed to recognise the good side of yourself, as well as some of the negatives.
Thank you. Thank you, I accept that.
Am I right? The UNICEF work, I know, is very important to you. What's been the motivation for you? I think it's probably been going to the scenes of some of these appalling places you've had to go to. When you get there, what kind of thing are you seeing that's really driven your interest in it?
It's difficult to pinpoint it down to one thing. It's a combination when you think of the lack of sanitation, the lack of safe drinking water, the preventable diseases that children have because there's not the vaccination. They can't be immunized. It can't be obtained. It can't until an organization like UNICEF or Save the Children or Oxfam, all these organizations. I wish there were no such thing as charity. It'd be wonderful if everything was utopian. Unfortunately, it's a necessary evil, and I would never dream of asking anybody for something for myself, but I have no qualms at all about carrying the begging bowl for UNICEF.
It's pretty amazing what you've done to UNICEF. I mean, you've raised the awareness of that charity around the world now for over 2 decades, and you should be applauded for that. You really should. How would you like to be remembered?
I don't want to be in that position. I'm not going anywhere, so I don't have to be remembered.
You once answered that question by saying, I'd like to be remembered as the oldest man who ever lived.
And who's going to put out the light?
What have you learned about yourself even tonight, going over your life?
That I've been pretty selfish, and I've been very lucky.
Any positives, Roger?
I'm lucky.
That's not a positive.
No, I was told 4 centuries ago when I started in the business that to be a success, you needed 1/3 talent, 1/3 looks, personality, and 1/3 luck. I say you need 99% luck and 0.5% the others.
Well, you've definitely been lucky. I think the talent percentage is definitely a lot higher, as is the personality. And I thought I'd end on an appropriate note, because I thought, what can I give the man who's had everything? All the fast cars, the speedboats, the women. You've had everything, Sir Roger Moore. I thought, I know what he'd like. He'd like one of these. So, this is from me, and it's for you to take back to Switzerland, wherever you want to go. You don't wear it, you eat it.
Molten Lowbridge.
Ladies and gentlemen, Sir Roger Moore.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
World-beating athlete Dame Kelly Holmes joins Piers next week, same time at 9, and there's a Bond film on the way after the news with Pierce Brosnan in Die Another Day. Over on ITV3, though, things get personal and one of the team winds up dead, and all the forensic evidence points to one of their own in Wire in the Blood.